God of War is a third-person action-adventure game that was released in April this year for the Sony PlayStation 4 console. Action-adventure is a hybrid genre, which means that it has a combination of attributes from both, and in this case means a storyline-driven game with an inventory system and a dialogue, which are all characteristics of adventure games, but also requires the physical skills necessary to play action games like quick reflexes and the ability to complete conceptual challenges. This franchise spans a 13-year history, and this is the 8th game in the series. But while previous versions were set in a world of Greek mythology, this release is loosely based around Norse mythology. The 7 previous versions of this game are rich with drama, backstabbing and quite a lot of violence and gore, and this release is no different. This particular story begins with Kratos leading his young son Atreus on a journey to fulfill Atreus' mother's wish to scatter her ashes at the highest mountain peak of Midgard. But this is no simple mountain climbing expedition. Instead, Kratos and Atreus' journey will lead them through all 9 realms, where they will encounter a multitude of monsters and gods from the Norse world. The lack of number in the title indicates that it's a reboot of the series, and it is, sort of. Rather than a retelling of the story, this game rebuilds the Kratos character and gives more personality and backstory, so that Kratos becomes less of a blunt instrument and more of the protagonist of a complex and dark story.
Soon after, Thor attacked, and their battle could be felt across all the realms. Ultimately, it ended in a stalemate, and Thor returned to Odin empty-handed. The serpent stayed and grew so large, he now spans all of Midgard.
If you have a working knowledge of Greek and Norse mythology, you'll find the story a bit familiar with both the landscape and the creatures within it hailing from known myths. If you don't, that's okay too, because the game does give away explanations in a way that feels like you are discovering the land's secrets one at a time. Familiar creatures such as the world's serpent, Balder, Brock and Sindri, who are the creators of Thor's hammer Mjolnir, are introduced and participate in this story. The tale that is woven is engaging and suspenseful and pushes the player to continue on and find out what happens next. Previous God of War games were played from a top-down perspective, once they moved beyond the 2D left-to-right style of play. This game has shifted in perception to a viewpoint over Kratos' shoulder, appropriately named the God Hand perspective. This helps to make the game feel personal and intimate, rather than a hack-and-slash style action game. Unusually, this game is also shot in single camera style, meaning that other than the death scenes, the camera remains over Kratos' shoulder, which adds to the immersion and helps to highlight the magnitude of larger monsters as we always see them from our player's perspective.
That is all I know for sure.
God of War can undeniably be called a success, with both critics and users raving about it, and currently Metacritic has it rated the best PlayStation game of 2018 and third best of all time. The retail price of this game at launch was $99 AUD and is currently available for around $80 from many retailers. It can be purchased as a physical disc or a digital download, however it can only be played on the PlayStation 4 console currently. The outstanding soundtrack to this game can also be purchased separately as a digital download. This game requires the internet to download and update, but is only available in single player mode. The game does offer the ability to share screenshots of video to your social media accounts, or invite others to watch you play through Twitch streaming or through their own PlayStations. To see how far this game has come, you can also play legacy versions of the original franchise on your web browser. Kratos' main weapon is the Leviathan axe, a gift from his former wife, which is a bit like Thor's hammer in that he can throw it and recall it using magic. Throwing the axe is one of the first skills you need to master, as the ability to throw quickly and with accuracy forms the basis of solving a number of minigame type puzzles along the journey. It is also a handy melee weapon for close combat, but if it's not available, Kratos is also adept at hand-to-hand combat and comes equipped with an enchanted shield that magically appears and retracts. In addition to Kratos' moves, the player can also control Atreus in a limited sense. Atreus is equipped with a bow and a knife, and initially, he can be utilised to shoot arrows at an enemy to distract them and allow Kratos to avoid damage while attacking. As his strength grows, Atreus becomes more useful in battle by using initiative and inflicting reasonable damage on enemy combatants. This is the kind of online game that is accessible to both dedicated gamers and gaming novices. I recommend playing this game and hope this introduction has encouraged you to.
Boy.